Hi, Gerard and Francis. Both of you were lead authors of a deep dive report by Bloomberg Intelligence and Bloomberg Economics focused on the Made in China 2025 initiative. Gerard, what was the Made in China 2025 initiative and why did it create such a strong reaction from China's trading partners?
Made in China 25 was an initiative launched in 2015. The objective was to seek global leadership in 10 strategic sectors. It builds on a tradition of industrial policies and plans, including 5-year plans in China. But unlike the other ones, which are often about catching up or things like infrastructure mega projects, this is about dominating sectors that in many cases advanced economies were already good at. It's also part of a broader push for so-called indigenous innovation. So having Chinese firms that own the technology and make the manufactured goods related to those technologies. How do they do this? Mostly with industrial policy like state-owned investment funds, state credit from banks, subsidies, procurement, etc. It provoked antibodies in the US and elsewhere because it was sort of a loud slogan for them to latch onto. And over time, particularly in the Trump administration, it became a bit of a rallying cry for things that were troubling to the West about Chinese industrial policy.
And what effects have US tariffs and export controls had on China's economy and how has Beijing responded?
So if we separate those two, the tariffs had more of a macro effect because they covered more sectors. They were quite broad, launched under the Trump administration and then sustained under the Biden administration. Ultimately, it caused trade diversion and some basically China exporting more to Southeast Asia and elsewhere, but the US is still importing a lot from China. The bigger deal, particularly on the technology side, is export controls. And there I would highlight two events. The first was in 2019 when the US added Huawei to the US Commerce Department's entity list, which signaled that the US was essentially trying to stop or maybe even kill what was arguably China's best international technology company. The second was in 2022 when the Biden administration announced export controls on advanced semiconductors. Today, semiconductors are really the locus of a lot of the competition. It's what the US is ultimately most worried about, in part because semiconductors lead to so many things, like China's ability to advance in artificial intelligence. China's response on the trade side was to retaliate somewhat modestly compared to what the US was doing. But on the export control side, they didn't really have any way to symmetrically retaliate. So instead, it was really just to expedite the plans that were underway. So in a way, the Made in China 25 initiative is a vestige of 2015 when things were actually less tense geopolitically. But in recent years, under Xi Jinping, the priority has been self-reliance and expediting those efforts.
And Francis, within the 10 strategic sectors of the Made in China 2025 initiative, which ones does China still lag behind and is still trying to catch up? And which sectors has China already achieved global leadership?
Bloomberg Intelligence identified 13 key technologies spreading across those 10 strategic sectors. In fact, China has made progress in 7 of those 13 technologies over the past 9 years. And they have so far achieved global leadership in 5 of those technologies. In another 7 technologies, they have been staying competitive with their global peers, and they're only lagging behind one of them. For the technologies that they have leadership on, that includes electric vehicles and lithium batteries, solar panels, unarmed aerial vehicles, graphene, and high-speed rail. But for those China is lagging behind, obviously, it would be commercial aircraft and some of the semiconductor subsegments, including the design and equipment.
Francis, what catalysts should investors watch out for? And do you see any key ones that could derail or set China's path through 2030?
Obviously, some of those factors will be coming from the external environment, such as the U.S. presidential election to be held on the 5th of November, followed by the FOMC meeting by the Federal Reserve setting the interest rate prospects in 2025, which is affecting the capacity of China's central bank to adopt their easing policy and to fix China's economy. And towards the end of the year in December, the country itself would have its Central Economic Work Conference, which set priorities in 2025, and that may include some of the new policies for the technological development. And lastly, on the 20th of January, we will have a new host in the White House. After the U.S. presidential inauguration, more tariffs, more policy changes towards China may be materialized.
Gerard and Francis, thanks for your insights.